So the second kind of issue that we have is called getting out of the hot seat.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It sounds like we were just in the hot seat.
I mean, if your grade is on it, I think Ben Shapiro always has the thing about if you're talking politics in class, get the A rather than, have the argument. And
Go for the A, not the argument.
You might win the battle but lose the war type deal. And I think that's pretty solid. But, there have been times where I've been in a class where we're talking about the modern worldview, and so we're reading books about how the formation of the worldview of kind of how we got to the modern worldview, what encompassed it. And I had a bonus question one time by the professor, and I made my claim that evolution would be one of those kind of areas where it would overturn in the next however many years of what the question asked, and I got bonus points for it. And he had a smiley face and said, "Very cool. Interesting." So the not that I viewed this person as hostile by any means, but sometimes you just don't know when you're putting it there. So I felt it was okay to put a little old English on a bonus question, and so it is okay to have those type of discussions. I thought it was a good question too. So here the hot seat is people that kind of know more than you, and so obviously you understand why Tony took the professor one and I took the people know more than you. So that's pretty easy to suss out there. But getting on the hot seat, sometimes you will face an aggressive challenger you're not equipped to handle, and you are in over your head. He or she is in the driver's seat, and so. I'm sure we have all done this. We've all watched YouTube debates, and you're like, "Oh, I can take this challenge and this challenge," and then someone will say, "Oh, well, the metaphysical claim of utilizing the Greek personal pronouns of this," and you're just, "Well, I was doing good against this imaginary opponent, but I couldn't even imagine what the rejoinder would be to this person who knows a lot, and they're the big atheist. I would not win in this conversation."
Yeah.
Okay, first, take a breath. We don't need to feel under pressure to immediately answer every question asked. Instead, practice what Greg Koukl calls here a little conversational Aikido. And
so are you saying that we don't need to be able to answer every question that somebody?
I hope not. I hope not. Now, it is always good to have a proper understanding, and we'll get into a little bit in later chapters as well. But sometimes you just come up with someone who has this big grand understanding of exactly the life in first century Jerusalem during Roman occupation. And so when you're talking about the life of Christ or how the crucifixion might have happened, this person could just kind of steamroll you with fact after fact of, there's no reason for Jesus to have been buried in a tomb. Why is that? Where is that? And I was just watching a debate on just that question of whether or not Jesus was buried in the tomb. And there's a lot of interesting ideas out there. And so you might not have an answer for even the outlandish ones, let alone the big ones. And so
should we be even having an answer for outlandish questions? I mean, goodness knows. Right?
Yeah, right.
If that's the case, every wild question, I mean, where would it end? Right.
Right. And there are quite a few if you've been out there. So practice what's called this conversational Aikido. And so Aikido is kind of this kind of martial art where you're utilizing the other person's kind of momentum in your favor. And so the minute that you feel overmatched, shift from persuasion mode to fact-finding mode. So that's what we're doing with the Columbo mode. We're asking the two questions. What do you mean by that? And how did you come to that conclusion? Yeah. And so that's kind of you're asking that question to kind of move the conversation along to where you want. But now you're really trying to figure out what they're talking about and how did they come to that conclusion. But again, we're still utilizing those two questions. Here, we're just kind of staying on track. So it could sound something like this. It sounds like you know a lot more about this than I do. I've said that a lot of times. And it's good. It's humbling. It makes you a real person. You don't have to have, especially if you're doing this behind a keyboard and you're talking to somebody, it's easy to hit Google and pretend that you know a lot more than what you're talking about. And so it's also hard to clarify, but here you're having a conversation with somebody.
It's honest, it's humble, it's,
right. And I think it's respectable for someone to say, I don't know, especially in this day and age. If you were talking to an atheist and they say, well, boy, I just don't know about this, can you give me some time? You'd probably have just the same respectful, conclusion to that. So you might say, you have some interesting ideas. The problem is all this is new information to me. I wonder if you could do me a favor. I really want to understand your points, but you need to slow down so I can get it right. Would you take a moment to carefully explain your views and your reasons for it to help me understand better? So you're just saying, wow, this is really new. Can you explain it maybe in a little bit more detail? We go back to your first point because you're on point 6. So that's kind of how to tee it up a little bit.